They said it. Now we speaking on it. Welcome to the Telescope channel.
Jovenel Moïse was assassinated early this morning. He had been in office for 4 years. His wife, Martine, was wounded in the brazen attack at their home on the outskirts of the capital, Port-au-Prince. Tonight, she has been airlifted to Miami for treatment. Yamiche Alcindor begins our coverage.
Haiti's president assassinated, the island nation in a state of shock.
We live in this area close to the president. Even when we have problems with him, we can't imagine that they would kill him like this.
Hours after President Jovenel Moïse was murdered in his own home, the streets of Port-au-Prince were uncharacteristically quiet. Outside the president's private residence and the scene of the crime lay bullet casings. Haiti's First Lady, Martine Moïse, was wounded in the attack and remains hospitalized. In a video reportedly shot at the scene, someone says the assassins are with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. But Haitian ambassador to the U.S., Bochit Edmond, said the DEA was not involved. Instead, he blamed mercenaries who spoke English and Spanish.
It seems that this horrible act was carried out by well-trained professional killers, commandos.
The Haitian government closed the airport in Port-au-Prince, so Edmond said the assassins likely escaped by land into the neighboring Dominican Republic or by sea. President Biden said the United States was ready to assist in the aftermath of the shooting. He responded to my question on the situation on the White House lawn. What's your reaction, Mr. President, to the Haitian president being assassinated?
You need a lot more information, but it's very worrisome about the state of Haiti.
Moïse was a polarizing president. In the last few months, his actions sparked massive protests around the country. During his term, gang violence and kidnappings skyrocketed. UNICEF reported that armed gangs control about a third of Port-au-Prince. And since the violence spiked last September, more than 18,000 people have fled their homes. Moïse was elected in 2016, but didn't take office until the following year. He said his 5-year term was supposed to end in 2022. But his critics, including human rights groups and clergy members, insisted that his term was up this past February. Earlier this year, he dissolved parliament, saying most lawmakers' terms had ended. He also forced 3 Supreme Court justices into early retirement. Moïse pursued sweeping constitutional changes that would increase presidential power. He planned to vote on a referendum, as well as his replacement, in September. That election is in flux. The United States backed Moïse's timeline, but U.S. officials also criticized what they called his unchecked presidential power.
This situation calls into question the core precepts of Haiti's democracy.
But Haitian human rights activists like Pierre Espérance opposed the U.S. backing Moïse, as Espérance told us in March.
The people of Haiti and the Haitian community in the United States are very disappointed by the Biden administration's politics.
Now interim Prime Minister Claude Joseph is the country's de facto leader. Earlier today, Joseph called into a news program.
I call for calm of the population. The situation of the country is already under control.
Moïse named Joseph his 6th prime minister in April, but Moïse had intended for a 7th, Ariel Henry, to replace him. He was supposed to be sworn in today. For more on the assassination of President Moïse and the shockwave that it sent through Haiti, I'm joined by Robert Faton. He's a professor of government and foreign affairs at the University of Virginia. He has written extensively on Haiti throughout the years. He joins me from Charlottesville, Virginia. Professor Faton, thank you so much for being here. Haiti has really been in a constitutional crisis for several months now. People on the ground say it's hit a new rock bottom. But talk about the gravity of the last 24 hours and the difference now that the president has been murdered.
Well, this is a shocking event in the history of Haiti. The last assassination of a president was in 1915. So this is not the usual pattern at all. We've had coups, we've had attempted coups, we've had obviously very nasty dictators who've killed a lot of people. But that, especially given that it was, as far as we know, an armed attack by foreign mercenaries, it's really a different pattern. And it's difficult to understand why that would have happened and who would benefit from it. It is really something that is out of the ordinary. It's truly an extraordinary event. So we are facing a de facto government, a government that has taken charge, has instituted, as you probably know, a state of siege, which is really the ultimate type of governmental imposition of order. But it remains to be seen if that state of siege can keep the country without significant disorder and a descent into chaos.
And how concerned are you about Haiti hitting an even lower rock bottom and gangs possibly trying to benefit from this situation?
This is a very dangerous moment for Haiti. My personal hope is that what we will get is a government of national unity that could take over and set a situation whereby elections would be possible, not immediately, but probably next year, and where there would be some sort of reconciliation between all of the different Haitian actors. Now, whether we can get there is the big question. The opposition has shown no inclination to really join with the government of Jovenel Moïse, but Jovenel Moïse, as president, is gone. So in a paradoxical way, in a tragic way, this might be an opening for such a compromise. But we will have to see, and we will have to see also whether the current prime minister is in fact going to remain in that position.
There have been a lot of Haitians who have been disappointed in the stance of the Biden administration toward Haiti. What role do you see the U.S. potentially playing now after this assassination?
Well, personally, I think that the most important thing is to try to get a Haitian solution. So if the Biden administration is to have a constructive approach to Haiti, I think they should push the government to really create the conditions for a government of national unity. Now, how do you form that government of national unity is a big question. It may well be that the government of national unity would require not only the current members of or some of the current members of the government and some of the members of the opposition, but also civil society leaders who are above the traditional politics that has been rather disastrous for the country. So a solution like that might, in fact, bring some hope to the population. But if you don't have that, I'm afraid that we might be descending into chaos, and that might in turn open the gates for another UN intervention, and we are back to where we were in 2004.
And with only a few seconds left here, there are only 10 elected officials left in Haiti. They're all senators. There are a lot of civil society leaders who want to see that transitional government that you've been talking about. Is there a constitutional solution here? And who benefited from this situation with the president now gone?
Yeah, we are beyond the constitutional crisis. The constitution now has been ignored, essentially, because we don't have a president, we don't have a functioning parliament, we don't have a Supreme Court justice that is functioning. So the institutions have decayed. So what is needed is really imagination on how to constitute an order that could appease all of the forces in Haiti. And that's a very difficult process, and difficult to imagine given what we've had in the past, where the polarization was indeed very extreme.
A difficult road ahead for Haiti. Thank you so much, Professor Faton of the University of Virginia, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
So, with all that being said, man, all that going on, dang, man, you gotta, like, the old saying goes, you gotta tap into the old saying sometimes, man. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, because, man, like, we know it's deeper than that, but we're gonna tap in. Let's go.
More of the pay-to-play politics, Hillary Clinton's State Department gave favorable treatment to, quote, friends of Bill Clinton after devastating Haitian earthquake. This is according to the newly released emails that we are seeing. Donald Trump taking aim at the Democratic nominee earlier today.
As people were dying in Haiti, Clinton insiders were separating out requests from friends of Bill or William Jefferson Clinton VIPs so that their business interests or contracts would receive very special treatment, while those who were not special friends would be put permanently on the sidelines.
Here now is Bernard Sansarique, who is former president of the Haitian Senate. So I want to read to you the emails that we're talking about here, or at least some of them. It says, quote, you need to flag people who are friends of WJC. That's William Jefferson Clinton, of course. This is a senior State Department official who is juggling incoming offers to funnel assistance from the State Department over to these companies that were going to come in. And she says, most I could probably ID, but not all. This is an FOB with an exclamation point. An aide forwards a note later with a woman's offer for medical supplies. If she is not, she should go directly to CIDI.org. This is the regular government website, the way other people would enter and make bids for these products. But if you were a friend of Bill, you could come in, and what we learned later was that they were not competitively bidding for contracts, that they were just given these contracts. And in some cases, there was outright fraud of these people who came in through the Clintons. What is your opinion of that, and what did that do to the Haitians that were so desperately in need of help?
It has entirely crushed Haiti. In 2010, we had an earthquake that killed 315,000 people. That's really a deadly earthquake, and millions were left without shelter. President Obama named Bill Clinton as the one that should be in charge of the reconstruction of Haiti. And in that process, the Clinton Foundation, through U.S. taxpayers' money, and people giving money worldwide to the Clinton Foundation for relief effort to Haiti, contributed about $14.3 billion. We're talking about $1 billion, okay? And the Haitian people has not seen not even 2% of that money. 2%. Nothing was done in Haiti.
Yeah. No, and the New York Times has investigated this. Lots of other people have, and have found that it was donors to the Clinton Foundation that were then given these contracts, and they went in.
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly, and actually they were given those contracts. They were given millions of dollars from that money, and nothing was actually done in Haiti. Yeah. Haiti, just like everything the Clinton have done, is pay for play. And they control Haiti, and they have been controlling Haiti since 1994 when they invaded Haiti. Yeah. Myself, I can tell you that back in August of 1994, I was always in contact with U.S. officials. Yeah. And one of the person that came to see me in Haiti and talked to me for about 4 hours was ex-former Congressman Bill Richardson. And I explained to Bill the exact situation that was happening in Haiti. A week later, a messenger from the U.S. Embassy came to me with a message from Bill Clinton, offered to buy me out, make me the richest man in Haiti.
Okay.
I refused. I said, tell Mr. Clinton I am not for sale.
Okay.
A week later, my visa, at that time I was not a citizen of the United States. My residence visa was revoked by executive order from Bill Clinton.
Sir,
I mean, what the Clinton have done in Haiti is unbelievable, and the American people should know about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. We're up against a hard break. It's going to cut us off. I hope that you will come back and tell us more about your story, because this is so important. The foundation said their work has focused on helping the people of Haiti in their time of
And these remote rivers may be the answer to Haiti's economic woes. A bike ride along dirt roads leads to what could be more than $20 billion worth of gold and other precious minerals. It's a secret that locals in northern Haiti have known for generations, and they don't want it to get out.
Since I was a kid, I have been panning for gold. I don't want any company to come here and take our gold away. Gold is my life.
The women show us the river they pan in, but we're worried that we would reveal the location to a mining company. Several foreigners have offered to pay them over the last year to drill on their land. After 6 days of panning for gold, these women earn about $100, which is more than enough to feed their families. Mining has been a way of life here for centuries for these people, and they want it to stay that way. So far, Canadian and American mining companies have invested more than $30 million collecting samples, building roads, and digging. Nearly 15% of Haiti's territory is now under license to North American mining firms. In neighboring Dominican Republic, mining companies believe they've found the largest gold reserve in the Americas, 24 million ounces. And they're hoping that the gold rush extends to Haiti, a country where the average person earns less than $1 a day. But keeping those potential profits in the country will be a challenge. Haiti has one of the lowest royalty rates in the Western Hemisphere. Only 2.5% of the value of each ounce of gold extracted.
We probably also have not only the weakest government in the hemisphere in terms of institutions, it's also probably the most corrupt government in the hemisphere. That spells a lot of money for a tiny group of people here in the capital. All the rest of the money will go to shareholders up in the United States and Canada.
Many Haitians like Jean-Hugo are already worried about doing business with foreign companies. Although he allowed a Canadian firm to test his land, he is now having second thoughts about selling his property.
I don't trust doing business with them. They promised they would give people jobs operating the machines, and they did not fulfill any of their promises.
But the reality is, big companies will likely create hundreds of jobs for locals, a fact that might convince some it's worth taking the risk. Rachel Levin, Al Jazeera, Tro de Nord, Haiti.
There you have it, man. More lies, more deception. I mean, I'm showing y'all the people and all of their resources. These people have wonderful resources. Haiti has some of the most, like, that I can say, like, as far as black people goes, like, that still kind of like have like a little, you know, handle on their land and stuff like that. It's not so much like Jamaica where the British own it and stuff like that, and it's not like Africa where the Chinese are kind of like, you know, colonizing it and taking it over. But like you heard, the Canadians and the Americans are, you know, colonizing Haiti. My daughter's Haitian, so, you know, I'm speaking on this issue right here as well. But, and me and her mother, we used to talk about stuff like this all the time, but I got a lot of Haitian homeboys and we talk about this all the time. We talk about this all the time. And it just makes me wonder, and it makes my mind ponder, like, dang, these people surviving. This video actually was 9 years ago, but these people surviving off of the land, you know, finding grandmothers and grandkids finding gold in the river and stuff like that. Fathers that know what's going on out there, you know what I'm saying? Like, they know about the river and know how to actually drill and go out there and get it literally out of the mud. And they told these people that they was going to get them jobs so they can get on their territory and on their land and extract gold from the earth. And you wonder why so many earthquakes, you know what I'm saying? But let's add more of this. Let's go.
This morning, thousands of Haitians still in the streets searching for loved ones and neighbors after Saturday's devastating quake. At least 300 people are confirmed dead and more than 1,800 wounded.
We don't have many manpower to help our brothers and sisters who are in need. We can't handle by ourselves what is happening now in southern Haiti.
Mes amis, en direct. The country, already one of the poorest in the world, left reeling. Schools, churches, roads, and homes all gone. In 2010, a powerful earthquake ravaged the country's populated capital, Port-au-Prince, killing up to 300,000. But this one hit the island's southwestern peninsula, decimating communities with tens of thousands of residents.
So this is an area that's virtually cut off from the capital and from a lot of life-saving aid right now.
This young girl saved from under the rubble. And further complicating relief efforts, the high winds and rain from Tropical Storm Grace are slated to hit the island on Monday. All this just a month after the assassination of the country's president, the new crisis unfolding amidst a leadership void.
When people sit at home in America, they're used to government, FEMA showing up. There is no FEMA in Haiti.
The Biden administration tapped USAID Administrator Samantha Power to oversee the U.S.'s coordinated response. She said she spoke last night to the Prime Minister of Haiti and that the U.S. will be deploying a disaster response team to the peninsula. Willie?
You have to ask, how much more can Haiti take?
Hey, what's going on? If you enjoyed this video, man, could you please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell at the side or the top, wherever it is. Hope y'all guys appreciated the content that I brought to y'all today. Remember, they said it. Now we speaking on it. I'm Mr. Telescope. You're now watching Telescope Channel.